Hi, my name is Soleil and welcome back to the Little Reader's Corner. Today we're talking about all of the books I want to read this summer. So obviously this is a list of books I would like to read. I might read some of them, I might not read some of them, I might read totally different books, but this is the list of books that I'm either currently reading or really want to get to up next. So hopefully I stick with these, but we shall see. I've got some physical books, I've got some on my Kindle. Let's get into it. So first, let's start with the books that I am actively reading right now. So I am currently reading The Age of Magical Overthinking by Amanda Montell. Amanda Montell is the author who also wrote Cultish, which was all about cults and the language of cults, and specifically like the linguistics and the mindset that is around cult-ish behavior in modern society. So think about actual cults, but then things that we refer to as cults but aren't exactly cults, so cult-ish. For instance, certain kinds of fitness groups, certain kinds of pyramid schemes, that kind of stuff. So this is about different kinds that we overthink things in society, where we think that we actually have a lot more control about a situation than we do. And it's fascinating how Amanda has split this into different segments, different things, different ideas. Let me give you a couple examples. So some of the chapters are, I swear I manifested this, on proportionality bias, a toxic relationship is just a cult of one, that's on sunken cost fallacy, or the shit-talking hypothesis, a note on zero-sum bias. So it really covers a large swath of different topics, and it is so good. I am just about halfway right now, and I'm loving it. Next up, we have A Man's World. This is by Grace Newman. This is actually the older cover. I got a little too excited, and I already purchased it while I was still reading the Kindle version. And before, the author Grace so kindly offered to send me an updated version of the ebook, because this book is actually currently undergoing an update. It has an entirely new cover, and the book has undergone a couple updates and edits. So this is the previous version. I have the old version on my Kindle, and Grace is sending me the updated one, which is so sweet of her. But currently I am reading this version. So this is a Formula One romance. If you didn't know, I'm a huge fan of Formula One. Max Verstappen is my #1 driver. Ferrari and Red Bull are my favorite teams. I also have other drivers that I love and I'm fans of. I watch it every single weekend. I love Formula One. So this is in a subgenre of sports romances. There's actually a lot of Formula One romances. I just started my 3rd book club, which is insane. I can hardly keep track of the 2 that I'm already operating, which we'll talk about those book club picks later. But in the meantime, I started a Formula One romance book club because I couldn't find one, and I wanted to read and discuss Formula One romances with other nerds like me. So if you want to join and you also like reading romance books and Formula One, that might be the book club for you. But anyways, this is about a woman who races in Formula One. As of right now, there aren't any women racing in Formula One. It's not a man's only sport. There's the Formula One Academy, which is all women, which is basically trying to give women a better chance of getting into Formula One, because previously there just weren't really the same opportunities for women as for men, which is why currently the entire Formula One squad are men. But it doesn't have to be that way. I think the last time a woman raced in Formula One was like 40 or 50 years ago. Anyways, so this is about a woman who is racing on an all-women's team in Formula One, and it's a kind of a romance, of like a fake dating romance between her and one of the other drivers, because they both kind of need a boost in their PR. She's bad at PR, she's bad at doing media interviews, and he's kind of like the bad boy of racing, and he kind of needs to refresh his image. So they start fake dating, and there might be a romance involved. We shall see. Next up, I'm also reading God Killer by Hannah Kanner. So I just started this while I was at the pool the other day because I wanted to start a shorter fantasy, because I am getting back into fantasy after my brain was turned to mulch by my graduate degree. So I just did not read a lot of fantasy for the last couple of years, And I love fantasy. Fantasy is the reason I got really into reading in the first place. I've always mostly read fantasy, just more recently I have stuck to more fiction because this is just too much in here. There's too much going on. I just couldn't keep track of all the world building. So slipping back into the fantasy, this book is fascinating. I only just started it, but basically it's about this world that has like a main pantheon of gods, but then also a smaller, like, there are hundreds of thousands of smaller gods, and basically all you need to create a new god is to set up a shrine to that god, and then like a god manifests. But there was this whole war between the humans and the gods a while ago, because these gods are like all powerful, and then things got out of hand, and then a group of the humans tried to kill the gods, and so now the gods are outlawed, and any new small shrines basically get destroyed by god killers. So there are quite a few characters in this story, but one of the main characters, she is basically a god killer, and she's requested in certain towns to kill these gods and to destroy these shrines to make sure that they're keeping up with the rules of society. And that's all I'm gonna say for now. It's very good. I'm loving the writing so far. I'm also reading all three of those on my Kindle because I usually try to get library ebook copies of the books that I'm physically reading, just so I can read wherever I'm at, if I have the physical book with me or if I have the ebook with me on my Kindle. So those, I also have copies on my Kindle. All right, next up, I would really like to finish Carrie Soto Is Back. I started this when this came out. You can even still see some of my tabs in here. I don't even remember when this came out. Was it 2022? Unclear. I think this was 2022. And it was a little bit slow for me. I got to about maybe 1/4 of the way through. It was a little bit slow. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing, so I know I'm probably going to still enjoy this. I just wasn't feeling it in the moment, and I really want to get back to it because I still have an unread Taylor Jenkins Reid book. So I would really like to read this, and let's be honest, watching Challengers in theaters did kind of inspire me to read a tennis story. So I am feeling a little bit more hyped to read this now that I watched that movie. If you watched it, you get it. You understand. This is basically about a tennis pro, a tennis legend who was at the top of her game, and she had the most Grand Slam, I think, title wins. And then she retired at the top of her game, and now a younger tennis player is about to beat her in number of Grand Slam wins, and she decides to come out of retirement to regain her title. And that's basically the gist of the story. And I think her dad is also a former tennis pro, and he's her coach. Next up, I am slowly but surely trying to read through the books that I own on my TBR. This is very much inspired by basically Brit. She has had a challenge going on for the past couple months, maybe almost a year at this point, that is to read down all of the books on her physical TBR. I don't even know how many unread books I have on my physical TBR. That is a daunting situation that I need to count those books at some point soon. But in the meantime, she very much inspired me. I would like to do something similar. First, I need to unhaul a lot of books. I need to really assess the situation of my library, what books I'm actually still interested in reading, what books I accumulated when I was a lot younger, when my reading tastes were different, which I'm just not as interested in, that I can bring to either a used bookstore or donate to a little free library or give to a friend, who knows. But in the meantime, I would like to slowly ease my way in to accomplishing a similar challenge because it sounds like a great idea. And by doing that, I would like to read a book that I've had not that long, but I've been putting off reading, and that is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I love Sally Rooney's writing. I'm very excited about her newest work that's coming out, I think this fall, if not this winter. I think it's Intermezzo. I'm so excited to read that, but I have a Sally Rooney book on my TBR that I physically own that I haven't read yet. So I should read this before the new one comes out and I immediately go to buy the new one, right? And that's the whole point of this challenge. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. As Sally Rooney books go, it's very much about like the relationships of the people within the story, and there isn't as much of an overarching plot. So this I know is about 4 friends, all who are like best friends. I think they're living together or they just have like dinner parties all the time. That's all I'm gonna know going into this. I honestly don't really want to know more about this story. If you're interested in reading it and you want to know more, feel free to look up a synopsis, but I love going into Sally Rooney's work without really knowing what's going to happen or what the situation is going in. So that's all I'm gonna find out right now. I also really want to read Beth O'Leary's newest work, The Wake Up Call. I've read all of Beth O'Leary's work. I enjoy her books. She's not my favorite author, but I overall read through her books very quickly. I think they all have very interesting premises, and I feel differently about different kinds of her work. But for this one in particular, I already ruined that. You can be mad at me if you want. But I have been collecting the UK editions, so I did buy this recently when I was in Scotland, and I was waiting to pick this up because I love the UK covers so much more than the US covers. This one is basically about a hotel where the hotel business is about to go under, but then one of the people working in the hotel finds a lost diamond ring, and then they get like reward money. So then they realize that if they reunite the lost and found items with their owners, they might be able to like get enough reward money to keep the hotel business going. And there's also like a rivals to lovers romance in this. So sounds interesting. I own the book. I would like to read it. Then I would like to read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Multiple times I've almost bought the next books in this series because this is the UK edition. Love the UK editions of these books. And I'm like, Soleil, let's not do this like we've done in the past of purchasing the next book in a series before we've even read the first one, because we don't even know if we're gonna like the first one. I think I will, because I have read all of Stephanie Garber's work and I love her work and I love her writing, and I love the series that's kind of like a companion series to this, which is the Caraval series. It happens in the same world, and this is about the Prince of Hearts and a young woman. So the Prince of Hearts is one of the fates, one of the fates, who basically, if you kiss the Prince of Hearts, then you will find your true love, but then your next kiss will kill you. It's something like that. I can't fully remember, but it's in this like different magical world, and she's trying to break this curse that is on her fiance. And in order to do that, she makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, but then everything kind of falls apart and she gets stuck in kind of like this trap or something like that. So it sounds great. I started it. I did not get very far. I got to page like 50 because she was sounding a lot more YA than I was hoping, and I just don't mesh well with YA these days, and I don't know. But my friend LB really loved this series and read it within like a week, all 3 of them, and has been begging me to read it. So for LB, I need to read this soon. Next up, this is a very new book that I acquired, as is the next one, which these are the last 2 on my list. This is the Fairy Loot, yes, the Fairy Loot edition of Honey Witch. This sounds absolutely amazing. This is kind of like ancestral, like witch family. They're living out in a family cottage, and she's basically being trained, Marigold's basically being trained to become the next Honey Witch. But then there's also this woman Lottie, who's a grumpy skeptic, doesn't believe in magic, and then she shows up on the Honey Witch's doorstep. And there's dark magic that's trying to destroy her and her home, and there's risk of losing magic and Marigold's heart in the process. This is also a queer romance, which I did not know until recently, so I'm even more excited to read this, and it's just so beautiful and it sounds so cozy and amazing. I'm so excited. Last on this list of books that I really want to read this summer is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. So S.T. Gibson wrote that one book, A Dowry of Blood, which I've been meaning to read. A Dowry of Blood. I've only heard amazing things about it. That one is a vampire romance, I believe. So this involves secret societies and a family curse and a medium. So the medium is the son of an occultist, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yes. And this takes place in like a magical Boston with secret societies, familial bonds beyond the grave. And it sounds amazing. I've heard the early reviews of this are also very good. I like that it's a little bit shorter. That gives me a lot of hope, especially for a fantasy read that I'm now getting more into. So those are all of the books that I am excited to read, that I can't wait to read. And you might be wondering what are going to be the book club picks. I will be announcing what the book club picks will be for the Mythologists book club, which is the book club where we read myths and myth retellings from all around the world. I will be announcing that on the Fable book club account and on my channel very soon. And as well as which by the time you're seeing this, it's probably already been announced. But then for the Romantics book club, it most likely will be the book Collide by Bal Cabra, or it will be Funny Story by Emily Henry. The vote is currently going on and is about to close. So by the time you're seeing this video, it will be this book that's on the screen. Most likely it will be Collide, which is a hockey sports romance between a woman who's studying physical sports health, I think, and is doing a research paper, and then the captain of the hockey team who has to be a part of her research paper, and there's kind of like a grudge going on there, and then possibly a romance. So yeah. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you are interested in reading this summer, and otherwise I will see you in the next one. Bye!